you really want to spend quite a few weeks and figure out what is that mission statement going to be. So you start with, okay, well, who's the audience? What am I going to deliver? And then what is the audience outcome? That's basically how you build your content mission statement.
What topic should I create content on? It's always a recurring question. So what would you usually suggest to people like that?
Well, I think the first, where most marketers, most companies start with, they're like, oh, well, what should we talk about? What expertise do we have? What do we want to sell? And we're already starting off the wrong way. What we want to focus on is who's our audience. You always want to start audience first. That's what we learned from great media companies. So who's the audience? What are their pain points? What keeps them up at night? Those are the things we want to focus on. So we want to get as much data as we can about our audience and what they're struggling with right now. And then once you have that, then you figure out, okay, well, what are our expertise areas? What's our skills? What do we have a unique perspective on that we can communicate that our competition can, or maybe is not even out there? Maybe nobody's talking about it. So that's where you start with. It's called the sweet spot. Everyone starts at the sweet spot. But really, once you get that far, then you got to figure out, okay, how do I tell the story? And that's where you really want to get into the differentiation area. You got to remember, there's so much content clutter out there. It's going to be very hard to make it through so that people can actually find your content in the first place. So that's where you have to spend some time. You don't want to rush into just, oh, I'm going to do an email newsletter, or I'm going to do a YouTube series, or I'm going to do a podcast, or they're going to run to TikTok, or whatever the case is. You really want to spend, quite a few weeks and figure out what is that mission statement going to be. So you start with, okay, well, who's the audience? What am I going to deliver? And then what is the audience outcome? That's basically how you build your content mission statement. So you really want to start there. So I would recommend for everyone listening, if you're thinking about, yes, absolutely, write down your audience's desires on one side, write down your skill and expertise areas that you're differentiated. But from that, you're going to want to create something called the content mission statement and really lay that out. And that's what a media company would create, an editorial mission statement. That's the same thing you're doing. So again, be very specific as you can with the audience. Then what are you going to deliver? Are they short, simple educational tips? Is it more entertainment? You got to think about what that content's going to be. And then you have to figure out every piece of information you deliver, what's in it for the audience. It's not what you're going to sell. That comes later. You have to build the audience first. It's always about what's in it for the audience. And if you do that, Alessio, then I think you've got something to start with.
That's a very interesting point. I love it, because it's basically about building, a buyer persona, right? And understanding exactly your audience from this point of view, and from there to go. Okay, that makes sense. And let's say that's once we've done that, that's the moment in which we start creating content. And to me, that's pretty interesting, because what I've been seeing a lot is that in the beginning, everyone is having this fire of, let's create tons of content. And then they start creating tons of content. And then most of all the time, it won't work, or you're learning, right? You're in this process of learning. And that's usually when that fire comes down and people just give up, right? So what would you suggest maybe to avoid these problems? What would be the approach that you would suggest to people on creating content?
Sure. And it's challenging, right? Because if you would have asked me 15 years ago, when I got started in content marketing, and say, okay, should you be everywhere your customers are at online? I probably would have said yes. Of course, we didn't have all the different channels we have now. That was bad advice. So I apologize for that so many years ago. You should not be everywhere your customers are at. You should deliver a content experience that's remarkable, that's valuable, that you can do so on a consistent basis. So this is when you're starting. You don't just want to list all your channels and say, oh, this is what we're doing on Twitter, and this is what we're doing in the Facebook group, and this is LinkedIn. You're actually going to want to strategize. So the best strategy is about saying no. So what we want to start doing is, what things can we say no to? So maybe you said, okay, I'm a business-to-business company. I can forget TikTok, or I can forget Instagram, or I don't have to be involved in Facebook. to make this grow. Maybe you say, what I'm going to do is we're going to have the best weekly podcast on the planet, and we're going to deliver consistently for the next 9 to 12 months. And all we're going to do is build audience. So that's the thing, is we all have what I call limited content energy. I don't care what kind of budget you have in your organization, you only have so many resources. So what we want to figure out is, what are the 1 or 2 things that you can deliver better than anyone else? So that might be, we're going to create the most amazing email newsletter on the planet, and we're going to deliver that once every 2 weeks, and we're going to deliver this amazing podcast experience for 30 minutes once every week, or something like that, right? And then that means you're probably just using your other social channels as listening channels to understand more about your audience. But you're going to say, no, I don't need to do the video thing. Or maybe you say, I'm not going to do the podcast, and you're going to put everything into video. So these are the types of decisions that I want you to make, because if you're doing 5 or 6 things, especially at the start, you're going to be mediocre. At best, you're going to be average. And we have too much mediocre content already. So we want to figure out is, what can we be excellent in? And you have to choose to be excellent.
Yeah. So it's definitely quality over quantity. That's clear. But how do we measure or understand when our content is actually good? Because that's a thing that's I'm working with different people. They were just like, my content is the best in the industry. And then looking from a certain point of view, I'm like, you could do better maybe. So sometimes people look at this in a subjective way. What are maybe the most objective things that we could do to understand when a content is actually great?
The best way is that you're actually building an audience over a long period of time, and that audience is consistently engaging in your information. So that's step 1. And then Alessio, step 2 is, this is marketing still. We're not just creating content to be nice. We actually have to market a product or service. So you have to figure out, okay, is there ultimately a behavior change? Because remember, so marketing, you want to maintain and change behavior. Content marketing, you're maintaining and changing behavior by delivering valuable, relevant, compelling information on a consistent basis to a targeted audience over time. So that's the difference there. So what we want to do is, first comes build audience. You can't show a behavior change until you build the audience. So what I would recommend, if you're doing this or you're starting something new, is you have to set the expectations in your organization that for the next 9 to 12 months, all you're going to be doing is building audience. That means you're trying to get podcast listeners. If you have an email newsletter, you're trying to get double opt-in, sign in for that. If you're trying to get YouTube subscribers, you're actually trying to get subscribers on YouTube over a long period of time. And so all the other things that you're going to do are going to help market that. So if your core base is on YouTube, then you're using, let's say, LinkedIn to help people get to that YouTube page and engage in that. And then so spend that time. You've got to set the right expectations. And then once you do that, you actually want to start measuring to see, is there a behavior change? I'll give you a good example. When I was with Content Marketing Institute, what we learned, and it took us over a year to get this data. So this is not easy to do, but you have to set it up ahead of time. We found out that our best customers, the ones that spent the most with us consistently over time, engaged in 3 of our content initiatives. So for example, they would sign up for our email newsletter, they would subscribe to our podcast, and they would sign up to our print magazine. It didn't matter which 3, it was just 3. That was our magic number. So we knew that. We knew that if somebody was subscribed to 1 or 2 things, we had to figure out a way to get them subscribed to 3. So for whatever reason, that was our magic number. So that's where we saw the behavior change.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you truly enjoyed it. I'm Alessio Pieroni, and I'm the founder of Scale for Impact, and obviously of Scale with Alessio. In this channel, you can find some of the most amazing marketing content, the content that will help your online education business to go to the next level. And if you want to see other videos like this one, please subscribe to this channel. It means really the world for us. And please also comment below and tell us how you found this video. It's truly important. If on the other side you want to go to the next level and you actually want to make sure that you can watch the entire talks from the Scale series, you want to see over 50 speakers, people that have been changing the entire marketing landscape, and see exactly how these can take your business to the next level, please subscribe to the Scale series. For just $99, You're gonna get the chance to see some of the most amazing speakers, and on top of that, get a lot of other bonuses. You're gonna have 3 amazing books completely for free inside that, tens of hours of other marketing training, all of it for just $99. Literally, that's just $2 per talk. And we're not talking about random speakers. We're talking about people like Jay Abram, people like Alex Cattoni, Vishen Lakhiani, Jeff Walker, Perry Marshall, Rich Sheffrin, Molly Pittman, Murray Smith. Incredible people that change the entire marketing landscape right now at your fingertip for just $2 each. So don't wait anymore. It's time for you to get the Scale series. See you there and upgrade your marketing knowledge.